What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is your match preview. It's Everton against Newcastle up at St James's, a game that is going to be very tough. A game against a team that has only lost once this season. And look, there is this weird thing with Newcastle and Everton, and I actually don't understand it, but there is no doubt in the job that Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle. They've gone from being a team that, let's be honest, I was convinced they were going down. Up until December, January time last season, they were relegated. They were poor. You know, it took them, I think it was 22... Was it 22 games to get something like 10 points or 13 points or something? And, you know, when you look at where they are now, it's chalk and cheese. They've brought in some good players. Defensively, they look better. They're scoring goals and they're creating chances. So, you know, they've even had players like Daryl Murphy step up and become this better player as well. So, you know, you've got a lot of players in that Newcastle side that have stepped up. A lot of players that have come good when they've needed it. And, you know, they're going up against an Everton side that defensively tend to be resolute, albeit in the last couple of games they've been a bit poor. Conceded 4 goals in 2 games, which is un-Everton-like in this season, this standard. So we've got to go to Newcastle and get a result of some sort, in my opinion. We've got to go there, get a draw, get a win. And it's not easy because we're not scoring goals. You know, if we were scoring as many as we were conceding, I'd be like, yeah, fine, happy days. But we're not. You know, this is an Everton side that I think has only scored 8 goals, 7 goals in the Premier League. Neil Maupay's got 1 in 5. I think Gordon's got, is it 1, 2? Iwobi's got 1. Damari Gray 1 or 2. You know, there's not tons of goals throughout this side, and it's difficult to see where they're coming from, because one of the things I would say in the last couple of games is we really have lacked creativity. There's been no forward thinking, there's no real momentum, and every time the ball gets into the final third or even in the opposition half, we sort of crumble. You've got ball carriers in midfield like Anana in Iwobi, who can receive the ball from Ghana and carry it a little bit and look for that pass. But, you know, there's no overlapping runs really. If they are, the deliveries haven't been great. Coleman's been passing back a lot more. You know, losing Patterson actually has been quite a blow to our attacking sense as well. Mikalenko's not been going forward as much, albeit, you know, his delivery is not great at times. So it's not great attacking wise. Defensively against a Newcastle side, look, you'd like to think maybe we can keep a clean sheet or keep them down to 1 and give ourselves a chance. You know, Newcastle are vastly improved, but they're not a top they're not a top 6 side yet by any stretch of anyone's imagination. But they've looked okay. They've got a lot of draws. Certainly the draw against Manchester City, the 3-3, that showed heart, desire. But it also showed that they've got a moment in them, albeit they're playing the best team in the world. So, you know, we've all got a moment in us against Manchester City. But they did seem to crumble. And that's a different mentality. I think that's very different. So, look, we'll see. I think in terms of Everton team, I think Gordon will come back into this side, and he needs a big game, to be honest. I think the whole attack needs a big game. I think Maupay, I think Gray. You know, I got absolutely slated on Twitter for saying that Rondon offers more than Maupay. And I was saying it sort of tongue-in-cheek, just saying, look, at least he holds the ball up. I can't tell you what Maupay's done in the last 2 games, and I'm not going to sit here and criticise him because he's new into Everton. He's got to get used to a way of playing. He knows he's not the first choice striker. You know, we keep hearing quotes saying that him and Calvert-Lewin can fire us up the league, etc., etc. But in my mind, there's a reason he weren't getting in the Brighton side, and I think in time there's a reason why he won't get in the Everton side, and I suspect this is it. I think Everton would play completely different if Calvert-Lewin was fit. And I also think you'd probably see Andros Townsend playing a lot more as well, because I think you'd see more balls into the box, more aerial threat. Because at the minute, it's very turgid, it's very slow, it's very it's not great to watch, and it's very counter-attack. And on these 2 or 3 opportunities we get, we need to be scoring, and we don't. That's got to improve. So this Newcastle game is big for that, and it's big for the front three. I think you might find Garner comes into this side from the start, because I think he's looked quite good in his last 2 games when he's came on. Against Manchester United, he looked neat and tidy, almost scored really. It was a good save by De Gea. And in the last game against Tottenham, he sort of wasn't out of place. So he probably would start for me. I'd actually give Onana a bit of a break. Onana a question was asked to Frank today about Onana in terms of his leadership, and I actually get the question. They were saying that, you know, he's a leader, and, you know, for a young man to be like that, he's great. It's absolutely brilliant. But equally, he's 21. He's coming into a different league, and he will need games out occasionally. And he's the sort of player that can make an impact when he comes on. He absolutely is. You know, we saw it in the first 2 games. He looked like a real handful. You know, yes, he made a silly mistake against Sevilla when he first come on, but actually he went up the other end and he created a chance and we scored from it. So bringing him on in 60 minutes is certainly no downgrade. So I would play Garner from the start in this one. I'd also, it's difficult, but I would probably start Lewin in this game. I understand people saying take their time with him, and I understand people saying about the game in literally 3 days' time, 4 days' time against Crystal Palace, and whether he's going to play in that. Would you start him in this one? Would we start him in that one? I think playing Lewin, he offers something different. And even if we get 45 minutes out of him, he's done 30 minutes, he's done 35 minutes now. He should be able to do 45, 47. Now, if he can do 45 minutes, he can start the game. He can start the game. So I start him. I'll bring him straight in. I start him. And I play Gordon and Damari Gray. But I don't set them up as in they're going to be inverted wingers. I set them up to be putting the balls into the box, and for somebody like Iwobi to be following in, or Garner to be following in as that sort of number 8, the legs. Because we are guilty of not putting enough people in the box. We are guilty of not attacking enough. And this is an opportunity with Calvert-Lewin going up against a very decent team. I'm not expecting miracles from him, but he can just stretch his legs a little bit. He can try and get in the face of them. He's got that physical threat. And look, if it is too much for him, then bring him off after half an hour. But I think if we could get in the game and go 1-up and be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit forward thinking, I think we'd be all right. One of the big problems we've had against Manchester United and Spurs is that when we've been in the game, we've sat back, we've sat deep, and I get it because we're playing counter-attacking football, but the problem is eventually when you've got these teams with this quality, they can break you down. And Newcastle are no different. You know, Newcastle are no mugs. Callum Wilson up front. They've got players like Almiron, who's been really good this season, St. Maximum, who I mean, every time he plays Everton, he rips us a new one. So there's a lot of quality in this Newcastle side in an attacking sense. And, you know, that's without talking about other signings that they made in the summer, really good signings, creative players, midfielders. You know, they're obviously the big difference for me has been Bruno Guimaraes in the middle of the park. And that, I think he was brought in January. He's been a massively different player, and he was good last season. He looks sensational this season, and that's a problem. They've got ball delivery from players like Trippier. So let's put no bones about this. Newcastle are a very decent side. They're probably going to finish top 10 this season. And from where Everton are, I think if we can go there and get a point, I'd be happy. I don't expect us to get a point. This is not a fixture I'm saying Everton are going to go and get 3 points. But I think if we can get a point, I'd be happy. Obviously, look, I want us to get 3 points in every game, but realistically, as Frank said today, they are just slightly above us now. And it's disappointing to say that, because they were, you know, this time last season, they were significantly below us. I think we were 8th, and I think they were rock bottom or something. So you just see the massive turnaround. But I'm a realist. I always have been. I think there's I think there's probably 5 or 6 worse teams than Everton in the league. And I think the majority of them are below us already. So I don't think Everton are going to be progressing up the league. I think we're going to be sitting roughly where we're sitting. And I'd like us to do a bit better, but the key games are the home games for Everton. You know, the Crystal Palaces, the going away to teams in and around us, teams like Southampton, teams like Leeds, Brentford, and actually Everton have picked up 5 points from those games. I think Newcastle finish above us this season, but I don't think Palace do. I don't think teams like Southampton do, and Leicester, I think they're struggling. Forest, I think all of those teams, Everton, I think Everton will finish above. So if you were to say to me now, where do you think Everton will finish? I'd probably say 13th or 14th. And based on where we were last season, I take that. So, look, if Everton get a point in this game, buzzing. If we get 3, we can go and get 3. If Everton play as best as they can, they win that game. But Newcastle are no mugs. They've played really well this season. And you cannot feel aggrieved in my mind not winning this game. I think if we can get a point, get in and out, and we can go and get 3 points against Palace the weekend, I am happy with that. Then obviously we've got a couple of games coming up that, again, are winnable games in my opinion. And we've got to go and take our chances in these games. This is a little bit of a period of games now where I think Everton should try and go aim to be unbeaten. I think over the next 5-6 games before the World Cup, I think Everton really needs to try and go unbeaten. Pick up a few wins, couple of draws, away draws, home wins. And Everton just cement themselves in that sort of between 10th and 13th place. No real threat of relegation. And we ain't going to be getting into Europe. You know, there is better teams with better squads that have just been managed better over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, which Everton haven't been. We are in this mess because we are in this mess. We just need to get enough. We just need to keep going. The support for the team's always excellent, always is, always will be. So we're doing our job. We just need the players to, you know, in the games against Spurs and Manchester United, we need the no mistakes. I'm not going to start digging out Pickford. He made a mistake, but as a decision goes, it is what it is, isn't it? And in the Manchester United game, it was our fault. We were tactically inept. Whether that was Lampard, whether that was the players on the pitch not quite doing their job well enough, it doesn't matter. We lost the game. So this is where we need to stay focused, stay motivated, keep positive. You know, I would say we're not in a relegation battle. I would say we just need to find a way of scoring more goals and we'll be fine. We've conceded, 11 goals in 10 games, 9 games. You know, it's still one of the better defences in the league. It might not be the best defence in the league. That is literally the worst thing I could have said. But it is still one of the better ones. So let's just keep that solid. Fine, keep it solid. 0-0, 1-1, whatever tomorrow. Let's go and get a clean sheet on Saturday and a couple of goals. And we'll be buzzing. Guys, I'm leaving it there. Keep smiling. Peace.